Hey everyone, welcome to the next episode of Let's Get Real, Let's Get Raw. Today's special guest with us is Rebekah. She is a passionate mindset and life coach, a motivational speaker. She helps ambitious women get down to the limiting beliefs, keeping them stuck in cycles of worthlessness and fear. So welcome, Rebekah. How are you today?
Doing really good. Thank you. Thanks for having me on this.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. I'm so excited to hear your story and what you're going to share on Let's Get Real, Let's Be Raw. So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. So I've been married 17 years to my best friend, Jonathan. We have 3 kids, a 15-year-old daughter, 14-year-old son, and a 9-year-old daughter. We live in Ohio. It's entirely too cold here for me. A couple things about me personally. I think bacon should have its own place on the food pyramid. I love chunky rings and jewelry. I love playing cards and board games. And I really love laughing until I cry. I don't actually get to do that as much as I want to, but that's definitely a passion of mine. I also think that dancing and singing in the car should be like a requirement every time you drive. So
Absolutely. I agree. I love seeing people dancing and singing when I'm driving down the road. But then
yes.
when you look at them, they get all embarrassed. They're like, oh,
I
why
know.
are
I'm
you
like,
looking
no,
at
let's
me?
keep going.
And that's all do all the like, yeah, let's
Yeah.
party.
Yep.
That's awesome. So tell us about your emotional healing journey. What was
Sure.
it?
So, well, and journey is such a great word to use because really, I don't feel like we ever arrive, right? There's always like new layers to discovering ourselves and new layers to discovering the things that we don't even know are there. But for me, it was a journey of overcoming deep seated feelings and beliefs of unworthiness, like never believing I was enough or that anything I did was enough. I operated in this lifestyle of comparison and fear of what others thought about me. And these things were really devastating to my self-esteem, my thoughts, my words, the way I lived. It obviously it oozed over into every area of my life.
Yeah, I can imagine. How old were you when you discovered that you were comparing yourself to others and that were you like a people pleaser or?
Yeah, a people pleaser, but more than that, just needing validation because I never got it. So I was raised in a really strict and controlling environment. My father was somewhat narcissistic, still is. I craved affirmation like water. Like I just wanted, and I think that's natural. I don't think that's like odd that children would do that. But because I wasn't getting it at all, it was just magnified, right? I was
Mhm.
rarely encouraged or applauded. And so my upbringing was one where I was mainly shown attention when I was being told how I didn't measure up and how I wasn't enough. So you can imagine like this leads me into like just deep seated feelings of worthlessness, of shame. I felt like I had very little value. And then I'm constantly trying to prove that I'm worthy. I'm trying to
Yeah.
prove that to myself, to the world, that I'm worthy. And this of course came at great cost to me because I would put up with being treated poorly just for that small bit of desirability and acceptance I would feel that I was showed. I would even say yes, like you said, people pleasing, like say yes to appease people because I just wanted to feel like I was loved. And maybe if I appease them and say yes to them, then they'll love me. Like it's a very toxic mindset and thought
Mhm.
process. But to me, it was normal. It was normal. It's what I knew. It's what I thought I had to live in. I didn't even know like really who I was or what I was passionate about or what got me excited. Like I really didn't know because the majority of my thoughts day in and day out are landing on how can I improve my value through my achievements or the accolades of others.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's heart-wrenching for kids to be in that mindset, to think that they constantly have to be performing and,
Yes.
striving to get the best grade, striving to be the best, ball player or whatever. So
Yeah.
what happened to help you pivot away from that mindset?
Yeah. So honestly, I realized that I was miserable. um, there were things. It's funny because you asked the word pivot, and I think that there were several times in my life I did pivot, but they weren't all huge, right? Some of them were little, just tiny pivots. Um, but at some point, several years ago, I just realized like I am sick of being my worst enemy. Like I am my own worst enemy. I was sick of the feelings that plagued me, and I knew there had to be better. if I could just get out of my own way, I'm like, okay, there has to be better, because I see there are people living it, right? It does happen. And not all of these people grew up with amazing childhoods and had amazing experience. A lot of them overcame so much. So I knew it was possible. And what also happened to me around this time was that I had someone in my life who had been in my life for several years. And I looked up to this person as a mentor, and they knew that. And over the course of several years, they turned out to be, I discovered, they already were this, they turned out to be a stone cold narcissist. And I had to come face to face with myself again, because I placed a lot of my value in their hands. I placed a lot of the way I viewed myself, I handed that over to them as a mentor in my life. Right. So when you discover someone who's supposed to be this person of love and care for you and mentorship, and you absolutely realize they don't actually care about you, they care about what you can do for them, and you are for their own gain until they're done with you, you're left with several choices, I'm sure, but the two that stand out to me the most at that time were, okay, I can either stay angry, rightfully so, bitter and frustrated at this person and their actions and who I've discovered them to be and who they are, and take all that emotional energy on that. Or I can stop. I can forgive, and that took time, right? That's not an overnight process. Forgive, release, and then I can do the hard work of figuring out why I was drawn to them in the first place, so I could heal the core issue for me.
One of the keys. What did you find out? Why were you drawn?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what I shared before, just that need for validation, and this person making me feel that I was worthy, doing those things, but in a way that was not, it seemed very authentic. And it seemed for a while that they were cheering me on to greatness. So it was again going back to my looking outside of myself for validation that I'm worthy. My looking outside of myself for validation that I have value, for my purpose. Like, direct me, tell me what I should do, and recognizing everything I needed was within me. And so although it was a very painful process, it was probably a full year before I really felt really free and healed of that situation. But even though it was so painful, oh, I'm so, so grateful for it. Because that is what literally launched me into exploring so many other avenues of figuring out who I am, what I love, why I was created, my value, my worth. And then not only that, but because I love to encourage and share with others, I naturally started finding my place in knowing what turns me on, what gets me excited, what sets my soul on fire, which is serving others in that same way, helping others come out of the things that keep them stuck from being all they were meant to be. Like, it's always been a passion of mine to speak, but then when it came down to like one-on-one and helping others who are literally living in prisons, and it's usually a prison of our own thoughts. It's mindset. It's things that these limiting beliefs that tell us one thing, and not realizing you don't have to believe them. Like, beliefs are beliefs. And you learn beliefs, you can unlearn beliefs, you can relearn new beliefs. The point, though, is that they're all a choice. Beliefs are a choice. And that was freeing to me to realize that. And so it started like this domino effect of me really evaluating every belief I had, like every belief in my life about myself, about my world, about culture, about religion, about my like relationships spiritually, everything. And it was great because it was like this beautiful deconstruction so that I could get down to the foundation of what was true and what was right and what was beautiful and rebuild on that. And that has been an incredible journey, but even more so, I love helping others walk out in that journey too.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story. I love it. What if you could give someone 3 key points, 3 things that they could do to help change? What was the 3 main things that helped you that helped you changed you?
Yeah, I think people underestimate how important it is to invest in themselves personally. And it wasn't until like I would read books, and these are all good things, right? Books, podcasts, all that stuff is very good. And we should be filling our minds with that daily. But the number one thing that helped me was when I invested in a coach. And I have invested in several coaches at this point, because one-on-one coaching and even group coaching specific to what you're wanting coaching on, right? Like don't just get a coach for the sake of a coach, like figure out what it is that you're wanting coaching on is the best thing. We were meant to grow in context of community with people. And there are things that other people can see and call out on you, especially as a third party versus like your best friend. Not that that's bad, but like your best friend or your spouse or someone like that, they can help a bit, but having someone else who can really prompt you into seeing all that you were meant to be, into recognizing things just based on your words, that they're like, okay, let's go back deeper in this and kind of walk you backwards in order to propel you forward. That was life-changing for me. That was life-changing for me. And so I know the value of it. But then also I would say that to my point earlier on books and podcasts, we are constantly bombarded. So the second thing I would say is what your input is every day. We're constantly bombarded with one, our own thoughts, right? Two, the TV, the media, social media, all of that stuff. There's always input. We don't have to want it. We don't have to assume or believe it's true. There's always input. We can take a proactive approach on what that input is. And when you start filling your mind daily with truth and life-giving things, with inspiration, with encouragement, with challenge, instead of getting in your car and turning on the radio every time you get in the car, put up before you go, obviously, turn on YouTube, find a video that's Bob Proctor, I don't know, someone that's going to inspire you. And do this over the course of 30 days. Every time you're in the car, boom, press play, right? Making dinner, press play, like listening, because that is going to start radically altering the things you think. Because the more, and even if it's repetitive, let's say the whole month you listen to stuff on gratitude, you're bound to hear some of the same things about gratitude, right? Then that's great. Because the reason that you have some of the limiting beliefs you do is because you heard the same things over and over and over again. You believed and thought the same things over and over and over again. So rewiring, I like to call it upgrading our mindset and our thoughts. There is a repetition that is so necessary, and making it a habit. People say like, how do I stay motivated to do personal development? You make it a habit. Motivation comes and goes. When something's a habit though, it keeps you on the track of success in that area. So for me, it would definitely be a coach. And the second one would definitely be input. One word, input. And it can be in any way, reading, whatever works for people, right? But input, absolutely, all the time, making that a habit.
Those are wonderful tips. I love that. And the input, I keep thinking of our brains like the software program. So like, if our brain's the hardwire, we need to upload the right software.
Right.
And it is so true. I mean, one of the things that pivoted me was the gratitude. I did 1,000 gifts with Ann Camp study.
Yeah.
And I remember that was in 2013. And I was at the point where I was just crying out. I was just so tired of being angry. And when I started listing 10 things a day, I got to 1,000. I was just like, this is life-changing. I'm going to do this. And I do it. I've done it every day since. And it's really, you see things so differently, especially like I'm not a winter person. You had mentioned the cold earlier. I live in upstate New York, and it gets pretty cold. It's warm today. It's like 65, but there's no sunshine. And our cold gets so bitter. And I try, I'm thankful for the warm jacket that I have to put on. And to be able to go outside and walk and enjoy it. It's not so bad that it's, keeping me inside. So yeah, little things like that. And they definitely change your mindset. So those are awesome tips. If I need a coach, I know who to come to. So we have a lot of same similarities. Tell us about your program that you offer.
Yeah. So as she mentioned in the beginning, I'm a personal one-on-one coach. So I focus on, if you didn't already guess this, eradicating limiting beliefs, specifically tied to your value, right? Your identity, your worth, because a lot of other limiting beliefs kind of like, it's like a tree. I look at it as a tree. They're more like branches off of that tree. If we can get to the core, of your worth and your value and believing in yourself. Like, we focus on that together. Things that bring self-judgment, fear, shame, all of that, getting to those core issues, and then providing tools and encouragement and helping reframe and upgrade thoughts and words like you never knew was possible. Like, it's incredible. It's an incredible journey. And then this, of course, doing that is going to create this perfect environment for you to believe in yourself, discover your passion, your purpose. Some people have, but a lot of people haven't yet. And then running fearlessly after that, because it's the limiting beliefs about ourselves that will keep us from running after it. But then I also provide speaking opportunities, which I just absolutely adore. I love speaking. I engage audiences with really, I love being vulnerable and authentic and humorous, and just where people are laughing, crying, aha moments all the way through, but also practical tips at the end. Because ultimately you can get inspired by a good speech and it feels good, and then you walk out and you're the same person.
Right.
That is not my goal. So I come in organizations, businesses. I've spoken several times at churches or church conferences. I've done women's ministry. I've done personal development, lots and lots of different things. I feel like it can be a wide array depending on what you're needing, but really coming in and giving practical tips too, for people to walk out and actually take action toward the things that they've learned and have life change in that way.
No, I love it. So awesome. So I will post the link below for our audience to get connected with you.
Awesome.
And if you need a speaker, you have a great motivational speaker here with Rebekah. So I thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. And stay tuned if you are listening to this. Today, it is Friday, it's Thursday, right? November 5th. I don't even know what day it is, but you want to weekly we have this series, Let's Get Real, Let's Be Raw. My dog is wanting to be on TV, so little therapy dog here. But be sure to subscribe and tap the bell so you can be notified of the next video. Thanks for being here and watching.
Thank you.